going off topic.
Off topic?
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic? How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?
All right. We are here. All right. Welcome to an episode of Going Off Topic with Brother Omowale. Happy 2022 to everyone. I know that y'all have seen some recordings so far that we released in 2022, but most of those recordings were recorded towards the tail end of last year. So this morning's interview, I have a very special guest, Sister Adei. Help me say this.
Thank you. You said it perfect, Adei. Adei Getachew.
Adei Getachew.
Mm-hmm.
Getachew. All right. So I have Sister Adei Getachew as my guest today on Going Off Topic. And I think that this is the perfect interview to kick off the year with, right? Because Sister Adei is a healer. That is her calling. She is a spiritual medium, right? So this conversation, this introduction to 2022 couldn't have been with a better medium, pun intended, right? So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's just get right into the conversation. I know.
Okay, right into the conversation.
5 a.m. on your side of the world right now, so we both have our black coffee. It's 8 a.m. here on the East Coast. Right. So we are
5 a.m. over here. This is a commitment.
Exactly. So I appreciate you for joining us in Omowale's Lounge, right, for a good conversation.
I love it.
Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. I'm going to start with a very simple question. Who is Adei Getachew?
Ooh, I repetitively say that I am as I should be, as I'm needed, right? So to some, I could be a healer. To some, I could be an activator. To some, I could be that key or trigger that unlocks the subconscious. I could be that medium, the wild child, or full of tradition. A little bit of everything, But in the end, I am still me, just someone who identified her gifts and her purpose and just trying to show up and do my work.
Got you.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into gifts and purpose because I think that is going to be kind of like the heart of the conversation today. But before we do that, I just want to understand a little bit more about your background. So the name Getachew, is that of Habesha origin or?
Yes, it's from Ethiopia.
Okay.
Yes, my father immigrated from Ethiopia here.
Okay.
The U.S. in the early 70s.
Help me understand the meaning of your name.
I love my name, truthfully. I'm so grateful to have been granted a name that is so spiritually charged and so rooted that it makes me want to be accountable. It makes me want to show up, right, for who I am. So the name Adei, my father is mixed tribe, so it has two meanings. I'm born on the holiday of Meskel, so the Ethiopian New Year is in September. So it's a time of harvest, new beginnings. I was born on the holiday Meskel, which is the finding of the true cross. And with that, during September, there's these wildflowers that bloom, and everyone is celebrating these holidays, the New Year and Mescal, with these flowers, little yellow daisies, and they grow wild, right? I was born on that holiday, September 26th, and very much a wildflower, very, very much needs to spread and grow in the fields and run free. I love yellow. I love September. My name very much aligns with my purpose as well. The harvest, and it's about beginnings, about destruction and rebirth. Very much so connected to that. And then as well, my name Adei also means mother in Tigrinya. And I have a really strong nurturing energy about me. And that's also one of I like to call it like a superpower. Before it was a kryptonite, but now it's a superpower. Because when I didn't understand it, it's like.
I guess it's a superpower or a kryptonite, depending on the relationship.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I
It's
get
been
that.
both.
I get that.
Double-edged sword.
All right. We
Yeah.
might revisit that, at some
Okay. All
conversation.
right.
But so is it Tigraying? How do I say it? Like what is
Tigrinya.
Tigrinya? Is that the
Well, I'm
proper?
not fluent, so don't pick my accent apart, y'all.
All right, no worries, no worries. Like I've met lots of spiritual healers and mediums in my day. My spiritual mother, Dr. Ama Mazama, is someone who I traveled to Haiti with back in
Mm,
2018 for an immersive experience within Haitian voodoo, right?
definitely
But
on
I
my
I
list.
recall her telling me about, her, I believe it's like her great grandmother or her great aunt is like the medium that I guess or
Mm,
energy that has kind of like returned through her. But
okay.
so I want to talk more so about you, right? So let's stick within your culture for a little bit because I know that within Ethiopia there is a long Christian tradition.
Mm-hmm.
You seem to be pulling or drawing more from the indigenous spiritual
Mm-hmm.
tradition. So
Mm-hmm.
could you speak to me about that and just give me a little?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting how the two actually do have a relationship together.
Mhm,
In its birth of Christianity, because in the end of the day, spirituality is spirituality.
mhm,
Universal law is what it is. So we can't change that, right? We can put labels, we can have studies, and we can make commitments and things in that. However, we can't necessarily change natural law, right? So we're gonna, as beings, gravitate towards nature in one way or the other. We're gonna try to make sense of things. We're gonna try to um, have things in our, create things that enlighten us and move us in our image, right? Ideally. Yeah, I did struggle with this actually because in our culture, in our current culture, right, modern culture is really taboo. And I'm worried about my father, because I'm a daddy's girl. I love him, and you always try to make him proud, and it's like I don't want him to have that pressure. But I said, this is my purpose, and this is all God's work. So anything that's in God's work, in God's light, which is what healing, helping people transition through their trauma, helping people disconnect with any type of spirit detachment, this destruction and rebirth. It's all the same cycle, right? And then teaching or guiding someone towards the living the life of compassion. And what is compassion? Compassion is love. What is love? Love is God, right? So in the end, it's all the same. Indigenously in the cultures, it still exists. Actually, in the Orthodox faith, it still exists. Like you have magic healing scrolls. That's a part of the Orthodox Church, but you have to go maybe to the or to like Lalibela or maybe somewhere um, in another region where they might with the monks. I would love to go actually. I don't know. They don't necessarily traditionally in the church have women in this position actually.
yeah.
Yeah. But and that's just with the church. But I try to merge the two, honestly. Like even on my healing drum, I painted images of the magic scrolls of Ethiopia, which are from the church. So it actually does very much so go together. But
Okay.
we just have to know our history to see how it all intertwines.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So
Mhm.
help me understand your journey a little bit, right? Because
Ooh,
I
how
think
much
that
time you have?
well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you the guided tour. So,
Yes.
no, but in all seriousness, typically when people tap into this energy, it's the result of either some type of experience, some
Mhm,
transformative experience that they've
mhm.
had along their journey, or the energy
Yeah.
was just always present throughout their life, and they, stop ignoring
Mhm,
it and step
mhm.
into it. So, I guess what helped you to tap, into this energy, into this being that you presently are, and
What
where you
made me
currently are?
yeah, that's a great question. What made me step up in my purpose and be grateful for my gifts? Um, one, yeah, shock, right? There was an initiation of shock. So what you're speaking of is initiation. My dog, she's just
She's okay.
has the life of leisure, I swear. Yes. Her name is Spirit, by the way. She's a clairvoyant too.
Okay. Okay.
um, so, it was a process of understanding who I am, how I became, um, how I became who I am, or in the position with these gifts. Those were another process as well, right? My initiation process, I kind of think I was born with it, maybe a little bit like Maybelline, you got to be born with it, right? And in a lot of shamanic culture, and I use that term only as a general term to kind of help people conceptualize what it is, because it's just energy, right?
Yeah.
And it's just nature, but it's hard to allow people to really relate without a title. So like in the shamanic culture, there's initiation process, right? To get to where you are. If you could have had some people have mental breakdowns. Some people have,
I'm glad you touched on that. But
some people have, and I have a theory on that too as well.
and I want to hear it.
Some people have a near-death experience, which I had too. One, my entrance into this world as this life cycle, and then again when I was 14. And then in my family, maternal side, my great-grandmother, who is one of my strongest allies, I call on her all the time. She guides me, and my grandmother just transitioned a week ago at 96. So,
Sorry to hear that.
I'm so honored to have these two legacies in my life, and I grew up with my great grandmother, having road trips with my great grandmother and my grandmother, road trips across the US. So I've touched portals here, I've touched indigenous lands. I was that child who had a childhood that was just amazing. My parents really understood their purpose, of who they were.
Yeah.
So all of that, I think is no coincidence also that my father's from Ethiopia, right? And I get to also tie into that. So when I think about all the pieces, the intricate pieces that went together for God to create me to live in this purpose, it's just so beautiful, that
Okay.
I have to live in a state of gratitude,
Okay.
and feel chosen and feel honored, right? So the
Okay.
initiation process can be very rough. And then a lot of times we don't know. I didn't understand that I'm supposed to be doing this like actively. Like, what is this? I just thought, okay, I was having these experiences here and there, and then I just chalked it up to, okay, it's an experience, and yeah, I got some gifts.
Let
But
me
I didn't.
let me
Mhm.
let me ask you this, because you say the initiation process, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And the way that I'm receiving that from you is, I know that in order to get into certain traditions, right, there is an initiation. You say, I have an interest, I would like to be a study, right? So I would like to start the
Mhm.
process of being initiated. But when
Mhm.
I'm hearing you saying it, it sounds like you're talking about your life experiences as an initiation process
Yes.
to who you are.
Yes.
Is that
It's more of a divine initiation
okay?
because you were chosen rather than you choosing this. You understand?
Okay.
Yeah. So the initiation process is being close to the other side, being close to death, right? And that veil between you and spirit world is very thin, or it doesn't exist anymore, because you've traveled to those other realms during these death experiences.
So
Does that
let me
make
ask
sense?
you let
Yeah.
me ask you a question. I
Hmm.
know that encephalitis is a part of your story, a part of your
Hmm.
journey. Is that a part of your initiation process that brought you closer
Very much
to?
so. Very much so. During that time, and those who aren't familiar, encephalitis is a virus that traveled to my brain, and my brain was swollen, and I was in a coma. A lot of times people don't live and they don't survive this. And if they do, it requires a lifetime of physical therapy, or they're wheelchair bound or in and out of the hospital. I actually, receiving the worst care, was actually able to heal myself. And then also heal myself by hearing the calling of my angels, by trusting the angels, by listening to God and hearing that voice and saying, oh, okay, it's not my time yet. So I have purpose, right? And then you become to identify that purpose. But during that time of encephalitis, I was comatose. I was in a state of coma, and then in and out of consciousness, actually. So I would say in and out of realms too. Um, They say you're in a state of psychosis, so you hallucinate, they say, but a lot of times you have visions. I had a premonition of a dear friend during that time who was tragically killed, but I saw it a week leading up to the event. So it really helped me now looking back, really understanding all the little pieces, of what happened. And so it changes your relationship with pain. It changes, well, my relationship with pain. It changes my relationship with just shit you got to go through, because I know the yin and yang effect of how negative that feeling was or that experience was. The flip side of that, or the balance side of that, has to be equally as amazing,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So whenever I'm going through something, I say, okay, breathe it, balance yourself, balance your energy, don't react emotionally, because I know on the other side of this, something great is happening, right?
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
the natural order, the balance.
Yeah. You touched on something at the beginning of the conversation that I
Yeah, I
really
go all over the place, so keep
no,
me.
listen, this
Yeah.
conversation is
It's
gonna,
so much to fit in,
it's gonna be cyclical, right? It's gonna
I'm like,
be
everyone get it now.
like the cosmos, right? We're gonna
Yes.
spiral and be where we need to
Yes.
be, right? But you did touch on something that's very interesting, right? Because you
Mhm.
talked about the initiation process, and it could be like a near-death experience. It could be an outer body experience, what people refer to as like being outside of yourself, mental
Mhm.
illness, right?
Mhm.
Um, I was reading, or I think I was watching, it was either a documentary and they referred to a book, or I was reading a book. It's a very long time ago, but it was dealing with quantum physics and shamanic culture. And they talked about, like, I think they said like 25% of the people who have so-called mental breakdowns or
Mhm.
diagnosed with, like,
Mhm.
bipolar disorder are
Mhm.
actually tapping into
Yes.
what they are meant to be, but they
Mhm.
exist within this modern culture where when you have that experience, you don't have an elder or a priesthood to
Yeah.
identify what it
Right.
is and
Or the
pour you
tools, or the
into.
tools.
Exactly. So can
Mhm.
you speak about that? Because I think that there are a lot of people in modern society, especially now. I don't know what it is about this frequency, but it seems like a lot of people are tapping in, but are ending up like in mental institutions being diagnosed for something being wrong with them. Like, can you speak
Yeah,
about
I think one is the time of awakening too. I believe that, without diving too deep, or letting them know we know too much, but we and I'm very cautious with my voice and anywhere I put my face and my frequency, even on the radio. So when my voice goes out in these frequencies, I'm still in charge of the intention so that it doesn't get manipulated, because
that?
everything is alive, everything is energy. When someone sees me, I want my melanated people to feel activated, reconnected, right? So that's my purpose and the intention that I set while I'm here. Um, it's, this is actually very personal to me as well. Understanding and identifying your gifts are so important, because it helps you really become responsible. You're not a ticking time bomb, right? You can't be out here, and I categorize as like, um, okay, this is not with ego, but let's just say like a superhero or someone who has some sort of superpower, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be in control of that. You have to train with it. You have to know how to benefit society, or you can be reckless for society, right? Um, those who have the awakening or have the gifts, but yet life just kicked their ass and they have trauma, right? I won't say the word can't, but having these scales where it's not balanced, to be tilted to where pain, is on top here, and your gifts, this is off balance, right? And sometimes when people tap into their gifts without resolving their trauma, without doing the inner work of their trauma, it triggers and it activates, and it's too much. It's too much. This is my theory on this. Um, so it's a process. Whenever I mentor a lot as well. Like I had an apprenticeship for young adults. Um, because I feel like, especially that age between 17, to 23, that age, that trigger age, right? Well, why is it a trigger? Spiritually, we also go through processes as well. Children are the most vulnerable between the ages of 1 to 5, 1 to 8. Why? Right? Because they're the most spiritually connected at that age, so they're vulnerable. And our children have to be protected during that age group. I wanted to focus on this age group because, especially now, with it being a bit of a trend, like everybody is, reading people's charts and doing this. I love the movement. I really do. I just, it's just my dog. I'm so sorry.
You're
She's
okay. Yeah.
hilarious.
She's meant to be here.
She's definitely meant to be here, y'all.
Okay.
I'm sorry. She's grooming herself. It is, 5 a.m. I wanted these children or young adults to be able to process what happened in their life, right? Events in their life. We really have a high number of sexual abuse in just in the world, in existing. I won't even say in our culture, just think in human beings, right? And so what I found is it's this sexual trauma that's really is a really rooted source of trauma for many of us, too many of us. And this trauma seems to kind of overshadow, right, the gifts that this person might have. So I try to suggest to people that if you know that you have these gifts and you feel like a bit of a calling and you feel something, because you get your little spidey senses, right? Make sure you're doing your steps first. Make sure you are really doing your shadow work, right? And that's part of the initiation process too. Like you can't just come out here and be a healer, right? And you're not healed or healing or balanced enough on your own. I think healing is an endless process. Living is healing, right? Because living is an action. We're not just here. We're not just born and boom, it's done. It's an action. What are we living? What are we doing? We're experiencing. So life is not guaranteed. No one promised you bliss. No one promised you perfection. It doesn't exist, right? It is. And it's just, you're here. So coming to a place where you are whole soul, because a lot of this trauma creates soul loss. And with soul loss, which is this void, right? Things occupy that space. Negative energy, negative spirits, these things occupy these spaces. Then you end up with multiple personalities, right? Because you have spirit attachments. Why do you have spirit attachments? Because you have so much soul loss that you had just spaces to occupy, because this energy and these spirits are like, hey, wait, there's some room right there for me to occupy and I can experience that physical living again, And it's not an ill intention. It's just them wanting to feel that physical presence and be able to kind of puppeteer you a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So it's really understanding this is what these voices are. And you take on personalities of these spirits that don't belong to you, emotions. People say, oh, I'm an empath. A lot of times people really aren't empaths. Sometimes you're feeling an attachment to you. And, part of this work is spirit extraction, spirit detachment, to detach that spirit that's occupying that body and saying, hey, okay, I understand that you meant well, you just miss being physical presence, you just miss something. And I compassionately speak to that spirit and say, okay, but you don't understand that you're being reckless to this person. So can you please shift and be an ally, right? And they'll extract. Everything just wants compassion in this world, right? Nature, beings, humans. So bringing it back to the mental illness, I know that, you hear, and I think that's why the trend too in this whole like ayahuasca experience, and they're incorporating mushrooms into.
What experience did you call ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca. Yeah, I believe that is. I haven't had it. It's just, just psychedelics. A lot of people
Gotcha.
I think feel like they need an accelerant, right? Which you do. I mean, a lot of times when you want to travel into that spirit realm, we do use the earth, we do use the plant medicine.
Yeah.
We don't always have to have that in order to have an initiation experience. Like I can travel into spirit realm without without psychedelic. But yeah, I'll use my herb. Sometimes I'll use spirit. It depends on what resonates with you indigenously too. That's really important. indigenous, to incorporate your indigenous culture to your work is really important. And work honestly starts with yourself. Before you're worried about, being everybody's healer and having, your quote of the day, reposted everywhere, you really want to make sure that you're doing your work for yourself.
Yeah.
Because integrity is going to make you grow and shine, right?
Yeah.
In your purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. One of
Bring me
my
back, because I go all over the
no, no,
place.
no.
Bring
Listen,
me back. Bring me
listen. I
back.
got you. We're gonna, the energy. We're gonna let the energy flow, right? So, but no,
Yeah.
one of my, I guess, concerns, or maybe I shouldn't call it a critique, but an observation,
Okay.
right, of this present generation and the kind of like the awakening spirit or consciousness that is moving through them, is that
We woke.
but
Right.
with the so-called wokeness, is it comes off as very fattish and nutrient deficient, right? It is very kind of like this the hippies, right? During everybody's
That's true. I know. So I tell my
this
children, like, you have that mom.
this free flowing kind of like energy, but
Yeah.
it becomes a fad where they never really
Do the work.
like, everybody is doing tarot readings and natal charts, and I saw
Yeah.
somebody was on this was on Twitter yesterday, and a woman had popped under somebody's thread and was talking something that just didn't make sense, and a guy jumped under her comment and kind of called it out. It was like, hey, there's a whole side of Twitter that has like moon rocks and fairy godmothers.
No, pixie dust.
Why don't you go over there? But like,
I love
I
pixie
laughed
dust.
and reading it, but it is very real because like,
Yeah, I say this, like, I'm here for the movement because what is the purpose? To activate us. And we are, as melanated people, this is in us. So yes, tarot belongs to us. Yes, astrology belongs to us. Yes, numerology belongs to us. Everything belongs to us as melanated people, right?
mm-hmm,
Even the energy of the sun belongs to us. We are children of the sun.
mm-hmm.
We are the chosen ones. So I love to see the movement. I really do. And giving compassion to that, like, I think that's great. Keeping that in perspective of what's the objective, Adei? What's the goal? Yeah, the goal is for us to reconnect indigenously. So I love the movement, right? And I'm not going to downplay that. So I love it. However, with anything great comes manipulation, right? With anything powerful comes manipulation. And so I just worry, and I see a lot of us being misguided because, again, we're skipping steps, right? We're not understanding that it's not just tapping in indigenously to our innate knowledge that we have encoded in our melanin, encoded in our skin, because it's already there. We've just been sleeping dormant because we've been under this spell, because they've used our knowledge of numbers, our knowledge of color, our knowledge of frequency against us constantly, right? It's constantly programming us, and it's constantly keeping us in a state of just dormant. What my sons call, what is it, non-something players? What are they called in a video game?
Yeah. And NS non
something.
character.
Yeah, right. So the character just moving in the background, and my sons literally will walk around. And the other day we were going to the bookstore. My 12-year-old was like, "Yeah, there goes one," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're identifying it. So you're noticing. You see that they're disconnected from that energy, right? It's taken away." So, like I said, there's a lot of fraud in anything, right? There's fraud in religion. There's in anything beautiful. There's going to be fraud.
Okay.
So, in anything powerful, there's going to be the opposite effect of that too, right? Something maybe negative. Even the gods had war. You know what I'm saying? So, that no one promised this euphoria here on Earth.
Yeah.
No one promised that. No one promised that everything and everyone is going to be pixie dust and fairies, right? And no one promised that.
Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay grounded as someone who is tapped into the energy? Because one of the things that I've noticed, right, even if you go back to like the early 90s, right, where you kind of see like the awakening first starting to kind of like break through with like the whole metaphysical movement that was happening in the Black community, and then within the white community you had like this new age spirituality stuff
it's our shit that they know
side by side, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people got swept up in that movement, and it became a form of escapism instead of still staying grounded and dealing with the fact that we are in a very real war, both
Yeah.
spiritually and physically, and you have to deal with your physical opponent and your spiritual opponent simultaneously.
I see it like this. At times, since we are under spell here in this generation, right? In this capitalistic society, it's all manipulated by our science, right? So since we are under this spell, sometimes it glitches because we're powerful, you know, and they have to constantly work. I mean, constantly work to keep us under the spell. And guess what? Sometimes that spell glitches and you get like flashes of this information that's in you, this charge that's in you, right? So I feel like sometimes like we have that sense, and we kind of gravitate towards this, or we have this feeling, but we just don't have the guidance because it doesn't exist in our culture right now here, right? Because what do they do to our spiritual leaders? We don't know how to identify them, right? We think that they couldn't just be that neighbor who humbly lives, you know, with his or her family, and is just a school teacher. You know, I'm a daycare provider. I own a childcare. That's who I really truly am. That's how I make my living, right? My healing practice of this is me just showing up in my purpose, and as it leads me and guides me, I say, just as long as you can make sure I can make a living, you know, I'll continue to show up. I got to make a bargain too. Like, hey, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot of accountability in this work, but it's a battle, right? They say the war is a spiritual warfare that we're on.
Yeah.
So how do I stay grounded? And this is the reason why we glitch, because we are unable to be grounded because we're unaware of what grounds us, and it's nature. Simple as that. Being barefoot on the earth, swimming. How many of us don't know how to swim? A lot of us, right? We don't know how to swim anymore. But so that means that we're not experiencing the power and this energy of the source of the earth, because the earth is mostly water and we don't have a relationship with it. We live in a concrete jungle. That's very intentional, right? They squeeze us out into these very congested neighborhoods where we don't have serene views, and we don't have views of the mountains, and we're scared of heights, and we don't know how to hike, and we're scared of bugs, and we're scared of dirt. And boy, don't get your shoes dirty. You better come home clean. You know, I grew up with a life where my mom said, I come home from school and she's like, what happened to you? Your hair was combed. You had clothes on when you left.
Her wildflower.
Her wild child. But you know what? Like I said, my parents understood their assignment. And as I'm trying to understand my assignment in life, right? So grounding, earth, nature, which is God. That's the most holistic and the closest relationship you can get to God is through nature.
Ashe. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because you know, the reality is the world has been turned upside down, right? We are the first beings. We are the first people, those of us who are melanated. And the spirit or the entity that presently controls the planet is one of chaos, is one of death. It's one that is disconnected. And we are going to have to contend with that energy, with those people, with that system. So, I appreciate
And we're
that.
on the 33rd minute of our conversation as we speak about this. That's no coincidence.
The numerology. Hold on. Bringing it in.
I love that. You know, I love these confirmations. And that too, you know, sharing that information and knowing that spirit is always giving us confirmation. Ancestors are always here speaking to us. We just don't understand, but they understand because they study it. You know, we are just such a people of sharing and community. We shared our knowledge because we're not manipulators, you know, innately.
They know more about us than we know about us, and they use what they know to manipulate and control.
Well, we know, we just don't remember. We know, we just don't recall. We always know because We're born knowing. So it's not something that and this is why I tell all of us, we don't need permission from anyone, not from a guru, not from aesthetics, right? Not from your economic status, not from your educational background, none of that. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't even have to come from a family of mediums or clairvoyants or healers. You don't need any of that. If you're melanated, you are. Simple as that. It's there.
That's deep. Hold on
Yeah.
1 second. I'll get out to you. So one of the things that I really like about you, right? Because I always try to research my subjects before we have these conversations. But
Okay.
the balance, right? You engage in a number of different indigenous healing modalities, but then I see Marcus Garvey is quite a frequent presence. You know what I mean, in your output that I see on social media. So you have the balance, right? So I
see your book in the background. I already saw it. It made me very happy.
We're in the war room right now.
I saw it. And is that Angela Davis? I can't see. I just see her fro, but I see her. There he is.
So this is Asada Shakur right here.
Okay, I couldn't see her face. I just saw her fro. Asada, another queen. Absolutely.
Garvey Library here. And
yes.
It's the RBG.
Garvey's my boo. Hey, boo.
That's the energy right there. And of course,
Garvey and Malcolm X. Malcolm X was my first crush. I was 8. Very inappropriate, but I knew that. I was on something.
The energy resonated with you. So let's talk about energy. You also engage in Reiki. Am I saying it correct?
Reiki.
Uh-huh. Help me understand what Reiki is.
Well, Reiki is a Japanese term, and I first and foremost in anything I do, like I say, I reclaim everything. I reclaim everything to African spirituality in anything that I do. So even with Reiki, again, just like the word shamanic healing, it's something that right now is a popular term, Western term. So it's able to people to understand a little bit more clear, or they can do a quick Google search and understand it, right? Because the work is the work, whether you call it Reiki, whether you call it, I don't know, Ra's energy or what you want to call it. It is still what it is. So it's basically realigning or activating your life force energy, because we all have our own unique life force energy that we can tap into. So remember when I was saying that we all have the power to be our own healers, right? We don't need permission. Everything is inside of us. So we are our own healers. We know how to program our body. We know how to work with the body, the energy, the flow, different points, chakra points, right? And it's all about alignment and balance. And what Reiki energy is that I've been activated with the tool. So let's just say we're two separate cars, separate vehicles, vessels, right? And your battery's running low, which your energy is just sort of misaligned, right? Why? It could be just stress of work. It could be maybe something physical. It can be an illness. It could be stagnation creatively. So many different things, right? That causes misalignment. I have a tool, and one of my tools is being charged with Reiki energy, which is jumper cables. So I come and I just give you a jump, right? Jump start, and then you're on your way. So you're on your way, still being your own vehicle. There's no attachment. I'm not giving you my energy necessarily. I'm just the vessel to activate and realign your life force energy. What is life force energy? It's the chi. It's in everything, right? Plants have chi. Nature has chi. Water has chi. Everything has energy inside of it. It's building that relationship with the energy inside of you. Do we know our energy? Like, do you know the essence of you? What does the essence of you feel like? And once you get in connection to the essence of you, you try to stay in balance of it. You kind of start falling in love with yourself too, which is self-love is really important. You can give love yourself for anything, right? Because you just have unconditional love with yourself when you're in alignment. Yeah.
All right. I wanna dive a little bit deeper here,
okay,
right? And go along the lines of what some would consider taboo. But can we talk about like sex as a healing energy?
Yeah.
Right. Because I know that you hear with spirituality and this space becoming faddish,
True.
you do get certain energies or spirits. Somebody the other day I
Talking about
saw
that Kundalini energies.
somebody the other day was like, you got to be careful for this succubus spirit out here, right? But
The
like there
serpent
are
energy.
exactly, but there are lots of women coming into the space talking about, healing men through sex and things like that. Some of this stuff just seems just a way to get attention, and attention brings currency in this present environment, right? But as someone who engages in different modalities, like could you speak to like the power of sex and sexual energy? And we know that it's
Yeah,
a creative force.
sure. There's sexual energy in everything. I refer to nature in most of the things I talk about or resonate with, or whenever connecting or making examples, because I pull from nature so much. So sex is everywhere. Plants are pollinating and having sex all the time, right? So there's a purpose, there's orders to sex. When you just look at it in a sense of it's everywhere, it kind of takes the big deal out of it. This big cloud. I've always had an interesting perspective on sex. I don't know. I wasn't promiscuous early. Promiscuous, right? I was labeled, that girl in high school who was a virgin. I was really proud of it, and my journalism. I wrote an article in the school newspaper about being a virgin in high school and this, and it wasn't a token prize, but it was like, my point was, what's the big deal? Yes, I'm a virgin. What's the big deal, right? Why is there so much attention to sex? I understand that now, why sex is such a trigger. Why is sex such an activator for campaigns, for marketing? Why? Because it triggers the beat, our heartbeat, right? Because it triggers those emotions that, remember, I spoke earlier about a lot of people having sexual trauma. So sex for a lot of people are triggers. And these triggers can be triggers that can be manipulated to different sensations. So that's in the taboo sense, right? This is why sex, is, in my opinion, has been kind of tabooed, is because it could be attached to very negative experiences for a lot of people, because that's part of the programming to dim down our light and to dim down our powers, right? Because remember, we all have these powers, these superpowers, but it's trauma that dims our power. So without healing and trauma, you won't have these powers. Circling back to, as far as like sex for healing, sex has many different uses, I suppose. It could be for procreation, right? It could be for, damn, I have a creative block. I got writer's block, or I just feel so stagnant. I feel like, just compressed and stressed, and I just need to release. It could be a release. So it's healing in that aspect. It could be a spiritual experience too, right? You could have an experience with someone, especially if you're both very spiritually charged, where you feel you can travel different realms together, and maybe you can journey together, and you can levitate. Like, there's many things that you can do spiritually to activate each other to next levels. So there's different relationships, I think, with sex. And then it could be, just something that could be pleasurable too. Why is that not okay, right? Because we've been taught that anything that is associated with pleasure or abundance is wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And again, it comes to just balance and not overly indulging, making sure that we're not being reckless, of course, keeping ourselves safe and things like that.
Yeah.
Our health, and emotionally too. What is your relationship with sex? Are you having, sex with multiple partners because you just want to relive this trauma experience? And okay, that's something different. Are you someone who chooses to have an open relationship with multiple people, but with integrity? Okay, that could be another. Are you someone who wants only a committed relationship? And in that committed relationship, in that marriage, if marriage is in that marriage or in that committed relationship, you can even use sex for different ways as well. You have healing sex tonight, or you need shit, I'm a little stressed, boo, from work. You know what, before we go to work, let's, get a little, let's feel good real quick,
Yeah, yeah.
So there could be also, or you know what, we're planning, let's expand our seeds, let's have more children, let's procreate. Or it could be, let's, our bodies feel exhausted. It's the winter, right? We want to cuddle and we want to charge and feel that heat from the energy. It could be that so many things.
Okay. This, like, I'm my list is growing as we're speaking. And I know we
Okay.
only have a limited amount of time. So
All right.
I have
Well, it's
to.
early for me. Let's see. I'm right.
All right. Well, you let me know how much more time we
I
have.
don't want to bore you guys.
No. Trust me, you won't. You won't. So let's see. We're coming up on an hour. How much time do you think you have? Because I have.
It's 5:50. I love that. 10. Well, let's give it another 40 minutes.
Sheesh.
Let's go in.
Let's cook.
Let's go in. I might have to get up and warm my coffee back up, but let's go in. We're here.
Listen, we're gonna heat it up then. Let's heat it up.
Yeah,
all right. So
Spirit, you're gonna and she's gonna groom the whole entire time.
let's talk about the power of the vessel that you currently occupy, right? Your flesh suit.
My avatar.
Your avatar, right? You spoke about understanding the essence, of who you are. Our essence is internal, but when you have that complete understanding, right, and that alignment, the way that we adorn and carry and operate our avatar is reflected in that. So can we speak a little bit about, I guess, like, sensuality, womanhood, art, things of that nature? Because I don't know, I feel like there's a certain flow to that as well. And I feel that much like the wildflower represents beauty in its natural essence, you start to see more. One of the things that I love right now about this current movement is like, I'm a lock fanatic. Like, my wife has like locks. She's been wearing her hair natural.
Yeah, I love locks too. My sons have locks. A lot of the men I date have locks. I love hair.
But like, just women who are
we can talk about hair too. It's really important.
let's do. You said we got 40 minutes, so let's
yeah.
Let's spend a little bit of time here. Okay, I'll tell you what. You have lots of art. The most noticeable that I see is this symbology here. What does that symbology represent?
I'm not sure which one, but all of them are very purposeful. If you were speaking of the angels here, these are Ethiopian angels on my wings. This is called Nikasat, which actually traditionally, ancestrally, it is actually like an activation, celestial codes of protection and healing. That's what Nikasat traditionally means. A lot of times now it's just associated with adornment as far as like a beauty in countryside, but it's making a movement back. I recall my grandmother always, I channel my spirit of my paternal grandmother, Mama Taitu, which means sunshine, which also correlates very much so, right, to me being a flower. I notice it gets a lot of reaction because it's very indigenous. And that's what I'd say, when you connect to something indigenously, it just, like Iron Man, when he puts that, I forget what it's called, but when he puts it on and that charge of energy, it just hits different, all of my tattoos are very intentional. I have the wings of Ma'at here, being in balance with my energy in life, period, is what I strive for. I don't strive for perfection. I just balance. So yeah, some days I might react to a certain situation cool. Some days I might require a little bit more heat, But in love, I mean, in being enlightened also comes with being highly protected too. Protection is very important. So I protect myself with my tattoos. They're portals, they're activation, and they're also mostly protection from evil eye, from, negative energy, all of that. I'm going to let this dog out because her excessive licking is driving me crazy.
Go ahead. Do your thing. Listen, family, you are live in the lounge with Brother Omowale. I appreciate all of you being here. I don't think that we could have chosen a better, interview just to start off 2022. Like I have my little notepad here, so it's like the more she speaks, the more questions that I have because I know just
And
enjoying.
bring me back. I have a dear friend who tells me, don't claim, the brain injury is not who you are. And I'm like, well, it's part of my journey.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not that I'm feeding energy into it, but, I have to remind myself and people too, I am a brain injury survivor. So,
Yeah.
if I forget, bring me back.
Talk about, your temple, because you move through space with significant knowing in terms of who you are, and I think that is reflected in your presence. So can you talk about? I don't know if you want to talk about hair or your, like,
all
whatever
of it,
it is that
all of
you
it,
can
all of it. I'm so
give
happy.
to the audience, and I'll give you space to do so.
Yeah. So childhood. Remember, I said childhood is the most precious moment. Why are children so special? Because they're angels, right? Children are the most vulnerable. Why do they always tell you protect women and children? It's not because they're weak physically. Women, we aren't weak. We're warriors. We come from queendoms where we rode on top of elephants with spears, and we were in charge. So it's not that we're weak physically, it's that we're powerful spiritually, and we need to be protected because it's protecting that knowledge, right? It's protecting the incubators, because we are incubators of carrying on this knowledge and creating more. So with children, it's really important that we understand and nurture them. I'm also a nurturing parenting facilitator. I call myself a children, the guardian of the children, of our angels, which is why I'm in the childcare business still. Yes, it's a business for profit, but I know my mission while I'm here, right? And I know who's sent to me and why and this and that. So it is really important for my clients too to understand that relationship, because I really pour into them to protect them and to bring out who they are. So as a child, I would, spirit spoke to me a lot. I always felt the energy of, especially Queen of Sheba from a very young age. My first Halloween, it's a school parade. And you want to dress up. And I think I was second grade, and I was like, Mommy, I want to be Queen of Sheba, or whether Mommy said I'm going to be Queen of Sheba, one of the two, but Queen of Sheba was it. And Mother made my costume, and you couldn't tell me I was not Queen of Sheba. I walked around that school parade with like my headdress and regalia, and was just it, and I felt the spirit of Queen of Sheba right then and there. I felt the power, and I said, wow, being an African woman is so powerful, and I've resonated. I asked permission from my parents to have my nose pierced at 10. I really identified with, like, I remember one day walking, my father dropped me off from school to school in his Datsun in his bucket. I used to be so embarrassed. Love my daddy though. It was a love-hate relationship with that car. My dad was a diesel mechanic, but because he can fix cars, he refused to buy new cars because it was boring. He had do on his spare time, because working 12 hours every day wasn't enough for him. Dropped me off in school, and I remember walking up to the gate, and I had to kind of make an L to go into the yard. Definitely, I had to be there early because I had to go play some kickball. I had some boys, to fight. Like I had a purpose. Like I got to get there early, every morning. Forget breakfast. I got things to do. So I got a meeting on the monkey bars. So I'm getting out and I'm walking, my oversized backpack, and I see this giant angel, just maybe 8 feet tall, just huge, giant, staring at me. And I walked right up to it, and it said, "Do you know who you are?" And I said, "Yeah." And it said, "Adei, know who you are. You are here for the angels, or you are an angel, one of the two." And I looked at it and I said, "Cool." And I just kept going. I heard it, and I never forget that moment, and I said, okay, but what does that mean? Since a child, I said, that sounds like something I'm supposed to do. As a child, I love snakes, right? And that taps into the Kundalini energy, the natural, and not just Kundalini energy, but how energy coils, right, up the body and the universe, and everything is a coil. Since a young girl, but my family wouldn't allow me to have snakes. So I carried rubber snakes everywhere I went. I was barefoot everywhere. hated getting my hair combed. I just want to be outside running around and fighting because I'm a warrior. Like I got, I need to move this energy. My parents allowed me to be who I was, and that's so important for us as parents. We think it's just about the programming, and it's not. It's really about the assignment. We are chosen to identify and nurture our children's gifts for their mission, not for us, So a lot of times we think that our children are for us. No, actually, we kind of are here to work for them.
I have to take this question here, right?
Okay.
Let me move some things around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shifting the order of things.
Okay.
I'm manipulating the energy. And
Yeah. So long story short, as a child, I knew who I was, I knew.
Okay. All right. So hold on. I want to add one more here, which is dealing with that. All right. Because we have to get that. That's so important. All right. You understand the power of your being, your vessel, woman, man, know thyself, right? So you clearly know who you are. But one of the challenges of being somebody who is tapped in, who moves about space with a certain level of power is we are still human. We are still flesh.
Yeah.
So dating, right?
Boy, your questions are amazing.
Let's have this conversation about access to your vessel, to your being, to your time, to your energy. Like, what are the challenges of being a healer, of being a medium, and still desiring that connection, right? That energy. Like,
that's such an amazing question because that's part of the journey too. Understanding it might be a level of isolation too, because giving too much of yourself could be off balance, right? Or understanding really who you are. So going back to the question just before this of identifying who I am, my name, my birth date, all these things, my past lives, identifying some past lives, who are my spiritual guides, who are my allies, spiritual allies, and having a flow and relationship with all of these things. And of course, God first, because God is all these things. It allows me to be responsible, right, for my gifts and how I affect people, how people affect me. Knowing that I carry a lot of maternal energy. I carry the energy of the harvest, right? Of born in September, born in the new year. My name being Adei, resonating with Queen of Sheba and Ma'at and Anuk and Anuket and Atete and all these that are sourced from the Nile. The name of my practice being Spirit of the Nile is because the Spirit of the Nile in me is that fertility, right? That fertility, that nurturing, that feeding, nurturing nature, birthing love. All of that, identifying all of that has helped me understand how people react towards me now. It took me 41 years to get there, though, to understand that. Now, if somebody can figure that out about themselves earlier than that, and if hearing this today can help that, I mean, God bless them, seriously, because it's a lot of suffering when you don't understand the assignment or when you don't fully come out, and understanding it. So with my avatar, now I know when I'm out and if a man approaches me in a certain way, if it's a certain, like, really hard and really like, who are you? I see this glow around you. I think I'm in love. Will you marry me and have children? Like, and we haven't even exchanged a drink together, right? Now I could be in a space of ego and be like, oh, my avatar is, it's not about that. It's the maternal energy. So when that happens, I realize, okay, usually these men have mothers who are in the spirit world, or a maternal, or like maybe a grandmother who was their mother who's passed on. And so they use me as a vessel to kind of send messages to them. But it saved me a lot of headache now being able to identify that. Whereas before I used to think, oh my God, we're in love. He sees me, like he understands me. This is it. This is love because it's supposed to be that easy. You find that one and you live happily ever after. Not for all of us. No, that was not my assignment. Now understanding that, I'm in a lot more control. I can, let me offer you a drink. Or I'll accept this drink and let me explain to you why you're so attached to me, like a moth to a flame. Here's the message from your mother, and then they're like, oh, okay. And then, so it's a lot more control with how I react, or I can be somewhere and where I might have a negative effect on someone, or what may presume as a negative effect. I could be in a space with someone and they just lose their shit, or they
Yeah.
just become this insecure or petty or jealous or outright just crazy.
Yeah.
I've experienced that with men and women. And that's me understanding, okay, I'm also a trigger. Why? Because I'm a mirror, from the house of mirrors, understanding the time that I was born, understanding my mission, me being a reflection. So when people are in that vortex and when they see me, they actually are seeing themselves, not me. And they see a reflection of their subconscious that they've hidden, these memories and these trauma that's been so far suppressed that they don't recall. But standing in my presence, they're slapped with it, like, oh shit, and they don't know it's there. Then the attack is misguided. The attack is really not towards me, it's towards that reflection that they see, and they don't like what they see, But if they could calm down from that attack and see, oh, okay, my attack was misguided. Actually, Adei was just the trigger. Now let me do the work. Beautiful things happen afterwards, which also helps me kind of not really take things personal when people act a little shitty, truthfully.
That's one of the four agreements.
I don't take my shit personal. I mean, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna take it, because I do have a mouth and I am a warrior, and I'm definitely, gonna say something because I don't condone it and I'm not an enabler, but I don't really take it too personal.
Let's your energy, the energy of the harvest, the beauty of the wildflower. It's very, I don't want to call it untamed, because you seem to have tamed your own energy, and that your energy, and a knowing that empowers you and gives you, I don't want to call it a sense of control, but at least not to go against the flow of your own
Yeah,
energy.
some balance.
So relationships today, I think that possessive love is a characteristic of many of our relationships. But that does not seem to align with your nature in terms of who you are, or who you have discovered yourself or remembered
Yeah.
yourself to be.
Remembered, yeah,
Right.
because we are
So
already those people, yeah.
I, I don't know. Speak to me about, I guess, like the challenges of
Oh, the
relating or
challenges.
being because masculine energy, right,
Mhm.
wants to, I don't want to say to possess, but I think that there is, between men, um there can be a healthy way. Like, I think that jealousy it's a natural emotion. I think that if it goes too far, that
Yeah.
it can be
You gotta
unbalanced
check yourself. You gotta check yourself.
and
We got
unnatural. But
yeah.
a man, a masculine energy, when in contact with a feminine energy,
Mhm.
wants that exclusivity, right?
Mm.
They want that access to be cut off from others.
Yeah, and a lot of women do too. A lot of women do too.
Okay,
I
so
mean, I come from parents who are still married today, shout out to my mother and father.
yep.
But that was their journey,
This is where I'm asking you to go, because you
yeah, it
mentioned
was
to
their
me.
journey. But it took me 3 marriages to figure that
Okay,
out.
this is why I'm asking the question, because
Because I was such a giver and I misunderstood the assignment, and I thought, oh, this is love. When I'm like, oh no, Dede, that was really not that. That was an assignment. So looking back at all of that now, I get it. I don't really resonate with using labels as far as relationships,
hmm
uh, or my style, right? I just say this is just where I am today. I do believe, not it's not belief. I'm a product of two parents who made an agreement or who had soul unification for a purpose. So the two of them were soul unified and they're living in their purpose because they feel fulfilled together, together and individually, right? And they've created from that something of fruitfulness. For me, and this is about the lesson of attachments, right? Identifying what you've attached yourself to, whether it's belief systems, whether it's tradition, whether it's routine, whether it's skills, any of that. And then ask yourself, okay, I have a habit of, or I was raised this way. What part of that am I personally saying this benefits me? This resonates with me, with who I am. Does it resonate with me? Okay. If it resonates with you, keep it as part of you. But if you say, you know what, I like that, that resonates with me, but that other part of the way I was raised, let me leave that out, right? So that's why my mother always says, and my father as well, that you want to do better the next generation. Really what I feel that they're trying to say is every generation gets better when we truly understand our individual mission and our individual selves. I wasn't doing that. I hadn't identified what's going to truly make Adei happy in a partnership because I didn't look outside of what partnership was supposed to look like. I thought it's supposed to be you find the one, you live happily ever after, and you have these children, and everything is great. And it was not that experience. It was very, very traumatizing, truthfully, because there was this possession, right? Or this switch. And that's why I tell you, me finally realizing, like, even then I did know I was a mirror and I knew I was a trigger. I just didn't proclaim it, or I didn't identify, or I didn't know where that came from and the history behind it and what I'm supposed to do with that, right? So, men in my vortex, relationship, like marriage. I always say I have beautiful relationships with men who I don't marry. When we marry, for me, it just crumbles because in this daily living together, it's a constant reflection of them staring their subconscious in the mirror, in the face every day, every day, every day, every day. And it triggers the hell out of them. And that's where the combativeness comes. That's where the competition comes. And even the energy shifts, I have a balance with my masculine and my feminine. And I think I don't necessarily attribute nurturing to all of femininity. Men are very nurturing. Mm-hmm. My most nurturing people in my life are men, actually. My sons are very nurturing. My father's extremely nurturing. It's my mother who's the soldier. I call her Drill Sergeant.
That's one of the books that we're going to be reading this year in our men's collective is from Baba Mfudishi. He wrote a book called Warriors or Healers. Mm-hmm. So the masculine is also a healing and nurturing presence as well. But I'm sorry for cutting you off, God.
No. That's beautiful. Like I say, and for me, and understanding my balance too with the masculine and feminine, I realized, okay, Adei, who were you as a child? Remember going back to who we were when we were children and we were just being who we are. We were just living in our gifts, but not really understanding it. I was the boys' girl. I didn't have girlfriends, but I had sisterhood because I grew up in Scouts and my mom was the leader. So once a week, I'm in sisterhood with girls, with other young girls, 30 of them, matter of fact, packed in my mom's house or packed in the park when we were younger. And so here I am, but we're in sisterhood, but in training to be divine feminine, actually, training to be women, training to be leaders, training to be a force, right? Yeah. So I had a relationship with women in that context of training to be to training of womanhood. But my experience and my friendships and let me let my hair down, were all with boys all the time. Why? Because I could be that physical person. I'm a very physical, I love to shoot. I love to hike. I love everything. I drive a pickup truck, and a 66 Mustang. Like, it's not, I resonate with a lot of men.
Masculine energy.
Yeah, I do. And so understanding that means also identifying with your past lives too, and understand why. When I understand that I do one of my past lives, or resonate with queendoms, of the Nile, where women ruled, right? And men were in their soldiers, they were their soldiers. And so I said, okay, Adei, how do I in my adulthood have these relationships with men in the essence of who I am, in the essence of Queen of Sheba? who was a kandake, or we call it a Candace, is a very specific type of queen that she was, where she rode into battle on elephants and spears, right? We trained, we fought. So me training that spirit, which is the reason why I incorporate martial arts into my life. As a young child, I loved it. I used to fight as a child competitively, right? All this has everything to do with who I am spiritually and who I am, the essence of my past lives, right? Or my guides, my spiritual guides.
Oh my goodness, 90 minutes is not enough time. But this is dating.
I think I got off topic, but it's so much.
Well, listen. So just so you know, the name of this segment is going off topic. So.
Okay, there we go. That's right. It is. Yes, thank you.
It's
I tend to do that a lot. Yeah, bring me back.
Fine, but Adei the triathlete, the healer.
You call me Day. You do your homework.
Yeah. I'm just saying, right? So, all right.
I love that.
This is what I want to do here. I want to pivot really quick, and then I have a question where we'll land the plane, right?
Okay.
But as a part of my pivot, I do want to say that I think that as a man, a part of maturing in your manhood, right, is understanding that, like, when you see, a flower, not every flower has to be, picked from the vine. Because if you pick it, you can go put it in a glass of water. It may eventually die, right? Sometimes the flower is to be left there to be experienced by others who flow by, right?
Yeah.
So
not to be possessed.
Not exactly. Not to be
scene of Lord of the Rings, my precious.
Not to be However, that being said, the institution of family, right? Love is important and all that stuff, but the institution of family, of man and woman coming together in a stable environment in order to reproduce themselves and reproduce their culture and project us into the future, that is essential to our survival.
Yes.
So the way that you and I connected, we were having a conversation about the state of the Black family in America, the crises, the mating crises. And a friend of mine suggested you to me for a panel. And that panel discussion was meant to be, I think the question was, is polygamy a viable solution to the mating crises in America? Unfortunately, the day that we were recording, you lost your grandmother.
Well, that too. Yeah, it was a lot that day, but it was all as it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're here now, right? Because I told you because what I was told was that, Omowale, you are really going to like her perspective on the question, so you have to have her on the panel. So,
I say, like, I don't know if it's a perspective or like an experience. I think, like,
speak to me. Let me hear.
Yeah,
let me frame the question for you again before you answer. Is polygamy a viable solution to the mating crises in Black America? Right, the reconstituting of our families. Right, could polygamy play a role in helping us to establish more healthy family units?
I say that, like, there could be a lot of avenues to healing our families. There can be a lot of techniques, right? I have some friends who we have aligned with a lot of our philosophies, and then sometimes there may be one that we're like, they go left, I go right. We're like, okay, respectfully. And I said, maybe this is just not every war, right? Tactic is the same, but that doesn't mean that war, if you won your war and you won your battle, right? But use two different war strategies, it's okay. I think we need to incorporate many, I think we need to incorporate a lot into the healing of our families. Most importantly, compassion. And it starts with healing. Before you try to do any type of, or live any type of lifestyle, whether it's monogamy, polygamy, I don't know all the titles because titles really annoy me, but whether you choose to have multiple people in your life, right? And I'm not speaking to just men having multiple women. It could, women having multiple men as well. Or to a man and a woman being someone who wants monogamous relationships. Whether you want that lifestyle or not, it's still, in the end of the day, how balanced you are as a healed person that matters. Because my attempt at monogamy or in a relationship, because I do value marriage, and I'm open to, I value having multiple marriages. I value having one. Just really just depends on what resonates with you at a certain time of your life too, because life's are cycles, right? Um, and so how healed are you as an individual? I was married in the sanctity of commitment. I haven't dealt with commitment issues in the relationship. That's not why my marriages ended. My marriages ended because of them trying to cage my energy and my power because they knew it was really great. And I don't do abuse in any form, whether it's financial abuse, verbal abuse, energy abuse, emotional abuse. Nah, I'm not the one. So circling back to your question, one, our crisis isn't about necessarily just numbers. It's quantity over, it's quality over quantity, right? What's the quality and the state of our families? I'm a single mother, not by choice. I would have loved to have a parent, truthfully, who wants to do it all by themselves, who wants to get up every morning and be that very active mother who runs 2 businesses, who works 13 hours a day, but still is their scout leader, is still waking up every Saturday to take them to enrichment programs and camping and hiking and all these things, paying the bills, affording them a comfortable lifestyle too, right? So if myself and their, let's say, the fathers, right, or a woman, mother and the father, if they're both healed enough to balance their scales out to where they can co-parent, that really is the key. Because you're co-parenting under the institution of marriage, right? Whether you decide to co-parent under one roof, just the two of you, and only procreate the two of you, or whether you choose to be in balance and harmony with multiple. Really, it's just about how you're co-parenting and how you are as a person showing up with your responsibility for your seeds. I do believe, because again, sexual trauma is a lot of the root of our issues in our society, because whether it's, and men are sexually abused. This is something that we don't talk about. A lot of times we feel that women are only the victims, and that's not true. So you have two unhealed people, two hurt people. We're looking at the woman like, oh, you've been hurt because you've been sexually abused, because society tells us to talk about it, right? Society tells us to be labeled at that, because why? We're angry, we're hurt. A man hurt us. So the woman, the melanated woman, and living in a society where they're constantly going to label us, right, as being angry, because that's the program, when really, truthfully, she's just hurt because she's had that sexual trauma. And then you have the man who's also had the sexual trauma, but his is a secret, right? And so his is buried and hidden, but it's there. You can hide it all you want to, but it's going to exude. Energy is there. You can't lie. Energy doesn't lie, right? So there's that friction. That's the reason why we can't co-parent. It's because you may have two unhealed people, or one healed and one off, or one balanced and one off balance. It's really truthfully what it is. So in that experience, unfortunately, I don't have a co-parenting experience with men who were healed enough, right, or balanced enough. And that's under the umbrella of marriage. Now, with my relationships with men that I have in my life now, understanding that I'm in a space of not having a committed relationship, but I have very valuable and meaningful relationships, right? And we learn and exchange. So I always say it's a knowledge exchange. I want a knowledge exchange. That's what I want in my relationship. Yeah. Man is not going to come here and tell me, oh yeah, baby, I'm going to teach you because I'm the man and I'm going to teach you. No, you're not my teacher. You're not my daddy. I'm not going to call you daddy either. Like I have a father. And so, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but we really, in these experiences of having multiples, there could be some really great cultivating relationships there. Yeah, right. So a man who has multiple women, that's a lot of power. That's a lot of power to have. That's a lot of knowledge to have at your access, right? Because any man knows the women are really what we need to we're not dainty, we're not fragile, which is why they say hold up your woman, protect your woman. No, they're saying protect that knowledge, protect that power source, right? Because that's how we're going to survive. That's how we're going to thrive. So really and truly to protect our melanated families and protect our melanated children, it's really us protecting our women. How do we protect them? We show up and do our own work too, or the men doing their work as well. And then women as well, seeing, let's take off that veil of ego, because a lot of times with pain, it's ego driven too, right? It's victimized. You're only looking at situations from your lens and your trauma, but you're not expanding it to say, okay, the person who hurt me or the experience that hurt me, what hurt them? And that's compassion. As far as having multiple children with multiple men or multiple wives, it's fine. I don't see an issue with that. It's really about, because you can be a shitty parent and live in a 2-parent household and be a shitty parent. I know plenty of people who've lived in a household with their parents and, excuse me, got some work to do, a lot of reprogramming to do, a lot of trauma, a lot of pain. So it's not about the numbers, not about the how you do it. It's about the integrity of how you're doing it.
Hold on 1 second. It's beautiful. Listen, I don't know, we might have to create like an Omowale and Adei healing corner and do this more frequently, because I don't know, I just feel like this discussion really wants to blossom. Okay. Unfortunately, we are.
Yeah, we can have another chance, another time.
Yeah. The time, confinement. You know what I mean? I'm a part of a group right now, with a good sister out of Cape Verde, who developed a instrument called Navigating Eternity, and it's all about disconnecting yourself from the Roman calendar, right? And reconnecting yourself back into eternity, right? Eternal time, right? The coil of time, right? So it's just a different perspective.
Because the Roman calendar is just using manipulation. They've studied our numerology and they use it to cast us under spells. And
absolutely. So speaking of spells, I think this is where I want to end. I want us to tap into the metaverse, pun intended, right? So you spoke earlier in the conversation about God, about nature, the importance of tapping into nature, and them denaturing us by placing us in these concrete jungles. And now that they are controlling all of the land and all of nature, they're looking to now take us from the concrete jungle to the digital jungle to attach ourselves there, right? And everybody's excited about these new 3.0 technologies, but the greatest technology on this planet is this physical shell that you exist in, and the software that it runs, and you tap into that, But let's speak about the metaverse. And,
let's talk about the metaverse.
The digital heaven that's being so
or digital hell, who knows?
Or digital hell, right? Can you what's your perspective here?
I think it's necessary for us to get in the game and to understand it. Doesn't mean that we necessarily have to accept everything, but we can't go into things blindly. Realistically, we are living in a society where our whole economy is changing. Everything is shifting. We were awakening, and that's what it was. Like, they know the cycles of time. Everything is a cycle. Everything is science. And we naively shared our knowledge with them, and they're using it and manipulating it for greed, where we just used our knowledge for balance, right? Doesn't mean that we were all just kumbaya people. Yeah, we went out there and we fought for territory and land and kingdoms, because that's still part of it, still part of the process. The metaverse is so interesting to me. I mean, that's pretty cool that I could session with a client, put some VR. We can be in my studio and you can be somewhere completely different. Yeah, that's cool. However, what are the what's going to be the consequences of us being so plugged in? And what's the overall plan and why? right? Because we don't understand the science and the spirituality behind it, we don't get it. But guess what? African spirituality is in everything. They're telling you right in your face. One, they have to, but they're telling you. Like I just saw Spider-Man, the metaverse or whatever it is, the Spider-Man movie, the last one. And I'm like, they're talking about the tree of life. They talked about numerology in there. And I'm like, wow, look at them talking about all of our African spirituality, right? Not only that, they use it even in these production companies. If you notice their names, Paramount, Lionsgate, this is all of our knowledge. Lionsgate is a portal. That's art. That's things that we should be tapping into. But look how they're using it and generating so much wealth from it. And we aren't benefiting from it at all. And they don't want us to, because anything that we do, anything we touch, we kill it, right? We kill the game. And that's still us being under the spell. Metaverse, what I'm concerned about is how the plan of us being indoor, the fear, the program of the fear, and how it's really shown like it's creating a division of families.
Yeah.
It's creating a division of our communities, right? Which is what they want. And so here we are now, and our responses to the the poison is trauma driven as well. Because if you notice, it's an older generation that's lining up like, I gotta get that, and it's like, oh, I just got the C, and I'm like, you just got the C, but didn't you get the V? And I'm like, so if you got the V and then you got the C, make it make sense. And they're like, well, I gotta go get the booster, and I'm like, okay, just make it make sense, help me. And they don't realize that that's just a trauma response, because they grew up in a generation of where there wasn't another pandemic, right? They grew up in a generation of the measles. Even my mother, she had the measles. My grandmother had, I think, strep or something. So they grew up with a lot of terminal illnesses. They gave us syphilis, right? So here we have this fear of, well, it's a Stockholm syndrome. They're hurting me, but I think I need them to make me feel better too. That's nothing but Stockholm syndrome.
Hold on. God damn it. That is it right there. I just had that. Woo. I'm sorry for cutting the energy, but
no, don't be sorry. We're not sorry.
We're
not sorry. We're powerful.
Do you like, have you seen the 100 on it's a series. I think it initially was on like WB17, but it's a series called the 100. It's now on Netflix, and there's another series called Ultra Carbon. Have you seen those?
No, I unfortunately don't get a lot of time to watch anything. Yeah, I run a business, childcare to 12 hours, have 3 sons on my own, and 2 businesses. So
that's perfectly fine.
I don't get to watch as much. And plus, intentionally, I grew up without cable. Intentionally, growing up, I wasn't plugged in like that. I was plugged into nature, so I didn't have a lot of that programming. I didn't grow up watching music videos. Like, I tell people I'm pretty square.
Yeah.
There's music videos that I should have known from the 80s and the 90s. I'm just now seeing them.
Yeah.
But guess what? At the same time, I know that was also contributed to who I am, because the programming couldn't get to me.
Yeah, I grew up very, very in a similar environment. We didn't have television in my house like the first 10 years of my life. Like, we didn't have television, and by the time like I could have been being programmed, I was so just ripping and running in the streets that like
but our children are growing up at a different time, and back to the metaverse, it's like, okay, my boys, no, they didn't grow up playing on the street like I did. They don't know what it's like to say the street lights are on, come inside. I have no idea what that means, right?
Yeah.
They don't even know our neighbors on the block, truthfully. They know our elder neighbors. I send my sons to take out the trash, next door, and things like that. Or I'll have a neighbor come and say, I know you take care of all these kids. Come pick up some food, So we have a neighborhood relationship with our elders. But as far as children on the block, I don't know. My boys are gamers. They are. But I'm like, okay, so how do I balance this? Because if the future is going this way, our economy is going this way, not our soul, right? I refuse to give a soul to the metaverse. But if our economy is going this way, I don't want my sons to get left out, right? So how do you navigate in that space of living in the system, but not becoming the system, living in the program, living in the matrix, but knowing how to snap out of it. Dip in when you need to, and then dip back out. So I look at the metaverse very much so like that. All right, sons, you're going to have to dip into it. So, my 12-year-old, he's studying all this. My 18-year-old was studying the crypto. Like he's, my 12-year-old already had a wallet for his NFTs, So, and we're working on it. Like, let's do this together. I too will need to know, right?
Yeah.
This is not my generation. I wasn't programmed for this, but you know what? I'm not about to be a burden to you either. So I have a responsibility to know what's coming for the future so that I can be an independent in my senior life so that my sons can fully focus on their mission in life and not a burden of taking care of me because I'm not a burden, but I'm not being able to take care of myself, whether it's physically, health is important too. You don't want to be a burden on anyone later.
The metaverse is clearly pointing to transhumanism and a very real future and like what that is going to look like. So, I mean, these are conversations we can have at another time, but we're at the mark here. So
that's a whole.
I want you to just share with people. I promise you all, I'm going to have her back because I have to have you back. But just
thank you.
Share with the audience. It's
crazy that people want to hear me, listen to me. I just not to say I ramble. I honor what I say, but I'm so honored and so just in gratitude to be able to just have something to share. A study. It's to be able to share this, to be in a space in my life to where I can reconnect us. And we just grow, collectively and reclaim. Like I feel I'm on a mission. Like I'm in it, Yeah. So thank you.
Just really quick in closing, you can share with the people where they can find you and learn more about you and the work that you do, because I want you all to go and support, follow, and tap into everything that my sister has going on with Spirit of the Happy. Right?
I love that.
The Happy River is the name for the Nile. Right? The Nile is their naming, but our ancestors referred to it as Happy.
Okay, beautiful.
Hapi, right? But
beautiful.
So tap into my sister with Spirit of the Nile. But if somebody is just tapping into,
we call it Adei.
Interesting.
Adei, yeah.
That's
in Ethiopia, it's called Adei, which means the Nile.
Gotcha. So if somebody is just tapping into their spark, what are some things they could do to kind of like cultivate and take the time and balance things out, just to so that the energy doesn't take control of them?
Yeah, balance. Breath work is important. When you anxiety is the kryptonite of us. So what's our strength? What feeds our power and what dims our power? What feeds our power is the sun, the energy and the source of the sun. The sun powers nature. Nature powers us. So that's how you power yourself. You need to charge your energy, right? Connect to the source, download that information, reprogram your body, sunbathe. They tell you don't go in the sun. No, sun doesn't kill us. We're fine. Go into that sun. Quite the opposite. If you don't get enough sun, you can start developing depression, you lose bone density, vitamin D levels go down. It literally kills us to be without the sun, right? And it's quite the opposite for someone who is not melanated. That should tell you something. Why are they trying to block out the sun? Because they don't want us waking up. They don't want us recharging. Oh shit, they recharging. Hold on, block this sun out. Let's spray some chemtrails real quick. Let's make it rain. Right? So why are they doing that? Why are they going through such great lengths to make us suffer? You have to see that. You have to see why. We're not just victims. We're not victims. We're powerful. Yes, we are a target. We're a target because we're powerful, right? And it's that energy, that power that they want, the greed of it. First, what you can do is simple. Accept that you don't need permission from anyone else other than yourself. You have your relationship with nature. I tell everybody, find your tree, be barefoot, touch the water, lay in a stream of water, get your hair wet. Our hair is beautiful. Our hair is an antenna. That's the reason why they stigmatize it. I actually don't wear my hair straight. I just straightened my hair the other day because I was trying to clip my ends. And I've been too lazy to wash it. but it's okay. We come in all grains of hair. We adorn, stop shaming our melanated women for adorning themselves. Yes, we wear some wild lashes and some wild hair and we do some things, but guess what? Because we are meant to adorn and we are in the image of the gods. So yes, we are being honorable and we are loving who we are and we should be celebrated, right? And we shouldn't be saying, okay, she's, look at her with all that fake shit on and this. Like, stop that. Look at her adorning her temple as a melanated woman. That's beautiful, Anyway, give yourself permission. It's very simple. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to read a certain way. I have a bit of dyslexia. I'm a brain injury survivor. There was a time where I had forgotten math, had to teach myself how to walk again, everything. So I'm not necessarily an avid reader either. I get my information from my downloads and my dreams. Reconnect with your ancestors, right? Build an altar. Altar space is very important to charge that because you have to have you have to have a charging portal, right? You have to have a charging station in your home for you. What's your charging station? Where are you plugging that power source into? Okay, your ancestors, the altar, lighting that candle, giving them some spirits, right? Hey, grandma, what's up? In the morning, that's what I did today before. Baby girl Jada, one of my daycare babies who had transitioned very young and tragically, I still speak to her very, very much so and give her gratitude for guiding me in the spirit world. So you have allies. You're never alone because everything there is for you. That bird that's flying in the sky is there for you, has a message for you. That worm on the ground has a message for you. Even that cockroach that might have passed by you on the street or the rat on the street, that's a message. And when you start to realize that God is in everything, in every creature, in every animal, every tree, every flower, every sound, every color, you start to say, damn, I've got a village because I've got spirit, I've got God everywhere. And this is what they mean by having a relationship with God, not a physical image, not, oh, I'm blessed and highly favored, because God doesn't favor. It's just a matter of we all have the potential to be balanced, loved, right? And compassion. Give yourself grace, but take the steps of healing and be honest with yourself, and find a healer that you can trust. If it's not myself, this is not a plug for me necessarily, but find someone who you can trust, because there are a lot of fake healers out there. And I don't have any tolerance for that shit. Like, if I see somebody out there who's doing the work, who's not doing their own work, and who's putting themselves in a position of power to guide people who are, because it takes a lot for someone to come out for healing, to step forward, right? And if you are that first person that they step to for healing and for activation, and if you're a scam, that's traumatizing. That takes us a couple steps backwards, right?
Can you give them some red flags to watch out for? Like, if I know I get people in my DMs all the time, like, "Hey,
for me, I
let
think
me
it's
give you a
just
reading,"
For me, it's just intuition. We got it. It's intuition. You feel it. You can look in their eyes and you can tell. It doesn't matter about their following. They can have a lot of followers because sheep will follow, and I don't mean in a meaning way. When you're a sheep, you follow the herd, because you're looking for guidance. And so just follow your instincts. Don't be trauma driven, because you don't have to go outside of source. I don't listen to nobody's lives. I don't tap in every morning for anybody's healing sessions, tarot this and tarot. I don't offer that either. How people can find me right now is only really on Instagram, because I allow things to flow organically. I could launch a website, but I'm not quite ready, because I like the way things are organically growing. Why? Because it gives me time to develop myself, to make sure I'm doing the work to show up for you, to show up for someone, right? If I rush this process, if I rushed it because it could be something that's really powerful, or it is really powerful, it might lose its integrity if I'm not ready, right? If I can't manage my time, manage my energy, or my just regular everyday avatar life too, right? Of being a single mom. So don't look outside of source. You are the source. Give yourself permission and fall in love with being melanated. Love yourself. Love your hair. Your hair is a portal. I was watching Rapunzel the other day. I know we got to go, but I got to share this story.
Yeah, go ahead.
I hate fucking Disney, by the way. Personally, I hate Disney because my grandfather, who was an artist and a chemist, he was hired. And when he showed up for work and they found out he was a Negro, they said, they fired him on the spot. So we grew up saying, fuck Disney. I didn't raise my children on that bullshit and Santa Claus and all that stuff. I didn't do that either. No white man is going to give you your gifts. Your family who works hard and loves you. We chose to give you gifts if that's what we chose to celebrate, right? Because that's not really the birth of Christ, if you follow Christ. So, all of that, like charging yourself, giving yourself energy, giving yourself permission, connecting back to nature.
You got to go back to Rapunzel.
Yeah. Going back to your childhood and who you are as a child and knowing why the programming is so dangerous, why they work so hard to program our children. And they program our children with these cartoons. African spirituality is in all of it. It's in all the anime, all of that. Samurai is us. There wasn't just one African samurai. Are you kidding me? We are the samurai. Samurai is African spirituality. They speak of it every time in these movies, quantum physics, sacred geometry, all of that. It's just in Spider-Man. Rapunzel, if you think about it, her hair was charged. Their crest, her family's crest, their kingdom's crest was the sun. Okay. And when her hair was activated by the sun, their sun glowed, their crest glowed. Her hair had magic healing powers. Had healing powers that glowed from the sun. That's us. So this is the reason why our hair is stigmatized. This is why they tell you, no, your hair is not professional. You need chemicals and you need to not love your hair. And doesn't really matter how you wear your hair, truthfully. It's a matter of your relationship with your hair. Do you love it? Do you understand that your hair is an antenna soaking up all that information from the sun?
And that's why they hate the sun. Like it's like the coils like go
energy. Remember, I told you that coil
for the sun. Yeah,
I told you that coil. So falling in love with that. So yeah, I was watching the Rapunzel and I said, "Isn't that some shit? Like this is like you teaching us to hate our hair, but here you are talking about the powers of our hair, but it's blonde." And you make us think it has to be long and look a certain way, right? So these are all the programming that our children go through. Now, my children get tired of hearing my voice. They're like, damn, Mom, we can never just watch a movie without you having to. Nope, you can't. You can't, because you're going to hear it from me. So yeah, circling back, start your journey with nature. Start your journey with yourself, giving yourself permission. You are melanated, and that's all that you need as a permission to reconnect, and things will evolve. Give yourself grace, give yourself time. You don't have to show up. Be mindful don't be anyone's follower. I don't have a guru. I don't have a mentor, but I'm powerful as fuck, because I listen. And the reason why I shine, the reason why there's this glow and random strangers will say there's a light around you. I don't understand. Like, what is it? It's because I just balance, when I'm off balance, guess what? If I'm having an off balance day, the light's not the same. People don't gravitate towards the same, right? So that's all it is. That's all it is. And keep your children safe, please. Keep your children safe. Love your children. They are not a burden. There's no such thing as a bad child, only bad parenting. That's a whole nother segment. But our children, children are the assignment.
I'm going to have you
better parents.
I'm going to have you come give a lecture in the war college too. So we got to get you over there. Got to bring more warriors into the war college.
Okay. So. Yes, absolutely. And I got to get another cup of coffee because
we're going to tap out. Listen, I'm going to close it out here, family. Listen. This has been the first recording, right, for 2022. I am so thankful for our guest today. If this is your first time here, Please make sure you hit the
Yes.
like button. Do everything you need to do for the algorithm, right? Engage, leave a comment,
Mm-hmm.
share the content.
Share,
I will
share,
put
share.
Sister Day's IG
I love that you call me Sister
in
Data.
the
And
description box. So
yes.
y'all go and follow her. Please do support.
Thank you.
And this has been another episode of Going Off Topic, and I'll tap in with y'all soon. Peace.
Peace.
Going off topic.
Off topic.
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic. How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?